All right, we are back, and I have the brand new M4 MacBook Air. I did a live unboxing. I did some testing on it. I'll leave a link to the replay in the description below if you didn't catch it. But this is starting at $999. This is the base model. This is the one that I purchased. Again, under $1,000 or $999. And there are some good things about it, really good things. And there are some things that I think you are going to sacrifice going with that low price. But of course, that is the price to pay if you want to play with Apple here. I guess the tax is there if you want to upgrade to more storage, more RAM. And then of course you have to start thinking, well, maybe it's better to get the M4 MacBook Pro, right? So this is on sale right now for $13.99 over at B&H Photo. I'll leave a link in the description below. This is I think $11.99 as the same configuration with 16 gigabytes of memory, unified memory, and 512 gigabytes of non-upgradable SSD storage. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are the port selection, which is a lot better on the MacBook Pro, as well as the display, and the battery actually is longer on that one. It's a bigger battery. Is it better than this $999 and up MacBook Air? And the answer is probably yes. For most people, they're going to be fine with the MacBook Air. Of course, it depends on what you're going to do with the laptop, but it's really good for the price. But I think if you just pay a little bit more, you get more for your money. And of course, when you do those upgrades, it is prohibitively expensive with Apple especially. So just keep that in mind. But look how thin and light this is. Comes in a brand new color. It's called Sky Blue. It's more silver to me with a hint of blue, but that's, you know, typical Apple. They're calling it something it's probably not. Again, there is some blue. It just depends on how the light hits it, but it's a thin and light laptop. It comes in lighter and thinner than the MacBook Pro, but not much. So you really won't notice it all that much in your bag. Now, there are some improvements year over year over the M3. You have a lower starting price of $999. That's $100 less, which is welcome, of course, but you only get 256 gigs of SSD storage, which to me is not enough in 2025. You also can use this with two monitors at the same time, as well as this being open. So technically three displays at once, which I guess is an achievement for Apple. I don't know. And that is something to be said about that. Other than that, there's really not that much. The other improvement, I would say, is the 12 megapixel Centerstage Webcam, the same one as you get as the M4 Pro. Now, the display is not going to be as good as the M4 Pro. It's still 60 hertz. It's still IPS. I think the display on the MacBook Pro here, the 14 with the nano texture option, which is $150 premium, is a far superior display. It can peak higher in terms of brightness, well over 1,000 nits. In the dynamic range, you're looking at 500 nits on this one. So the display is glossy as well. Let me open this up for you and show you. With this glossy display, you're going to have a lot more glare and reflection. Again, 60 hertz, 120. So there are some key differences between these two displays. We're going to get into it and more in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the MacBook Air running the brand new M4 processor, all new for 2025. Coming up. Now, the M4 MacBook Air is pretty light, so it's going to be easy to take with you on the go, coming in at around 1.21 kilograms or 1.22 kilograms, which is 2 pounds, 11.1 ounces, with a total travel weight just a little bit above 3 pounds. So that is pretty good to throw in your bag to take with you on the go. Now, the MacBook Air with the M4 is definitely lighter, and it's definitely thinner than the M4 MacBook Pro that I have here. As you can see, a smaller footprint with the M4 MacBook Air. Of course, the MacBook Pro has a better port selection than the M4 MacBook Air. Let's take a look at it now. And as you can see, the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro share the same MagSafe 3 connection, two Thunderbolt 4 ports, both on the left side, of course, and a headphone jack on the MacBook Pro. You don't get that on the MacBook Air on the left side, you get that on the right side, and that's it. It's completely bare other than that headphone jack on the MacBook Air, where you get a full-size SD card reader, HDMI, and a third USB Type-C port, Thunderbolt port, of course, Thunderbolt 4 on the MacBook Pro. So a better port selection on the MacBook Pro. All right, let's talk about the displays here. So this is the nano texture option. Like I said earlier, it's $150 extra. I think it is worth it because it does a great job reducing glare and reflection without sacrificing the clarity and the fidelity of the display. Now they both have the notch, as you can see, not great. You know, I don't love that. But the display is better on this one, right? So you get the higher refresh rate, the ProMotion, 120 hertz is what they're calling it. It's HDR. This one, of course, is 60 hertz. So that's going to be a downgrade, of course, but you are paying less, somewhat less money, although it's not that much of a difference considering what you're getting. But the display is good for what it is, but again, not quite as good as this mini LED you find on the M4 MacBook Pro. This one, again, is IPS. Now, watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, doing all your video viewing and stuff like that has been great. Watching movies has been excellent. They both have excellent speakers, so the viewing experience in total, the total experience is very good. Now, let's talk keyboards here. The keyboards on these are not my favorite. So we looked at the one on the M4 MacBook Pro. I have the M4 Max in the 16-inch version. This is the space black one I have here, the 14-inch version. And it smudges up pretty quickly, right? I've showed that. I've talked about it. It's hard to keep clean. It's not great. And I don't love the typing experience. I like it better on the ThinkPads. I like it better on the HP EliteBooks and stuff like that. So definitely, and I like it better on the Surface laptop as well. Now, this one is a little bit more shallow in terms of the key travel, but very similar layout, you know, as far as the overall tactility and all that. It's pretty similar in terms of the typing experience. Both have excellent haptic touchpads. It's obviously a bigger one on the 14-inch than on the 13-inch here. By the way, you could also get this in a 15-inch. I don't know if I mentioned that. I think you pretty much know that. So you can get it in the 15-inch or a 13.6-inch as I have here. Haptic touchpad, very good on both, like I said. So scrolling, doing all your gestures, do very well on these. There is no question. Now, both have Touch ID, so that's going to help you log in for security purposes, as well as Apple Pay and all that stuff is going to work well with this. Now, the other thing about it is there's no IR camera, right? So we have 12 megapixel Centerstage webcams on these, but no IR. So no Face ID or face recognition like we get on Windows or on an iPad. You don't have that here. So I will say the cameras are very good on these. I will show you an example of both, and I will compare it to last year's model as well. So let's do that right now. This is the FaceTime camera on the MacBook Air 15 with the M3 here for 2024. 1080p. What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And this is the brand new 12 megapixel camera here on the M4 MacBook Air, the same as the MacBook Pro. But of course, what do you think about it when you compare it to the MacBook Air M3? Let me know in the comment section below. So this is the camera on the M4 MacBook Pro, the 14-inch here for 2024. And this is the 12 megapixel center stage camera now found on the M4 MacBook Air, the same as the M4 MacBook Pro. And when it comes to performance, we're seeing improved single and multi-core performance as evidenced by these numbers here, although not a huge difference, and you really won't see a real-world difference that much when you're doing everyday tasks, and it is very similar to the MacBook Pro running the M4, although I will say that it's a little bit better on the M4 MacBook Pro, and that's probably due to the active cooling versus the passive cooling on the M4 MacBook Air. Now, the base model that I have has an 8-core GPU versus the 10-core GPU I have on the M4 MacBook Pro. And you can see those 2 extra cores make a little bit of a difference when it comes to things like video editing and DaVinci Resolve, as evidenced by the Puget DaVinci Resolve benchmark. Now, being passively cooled means it's going to run a little bit warmer than the M4 MacBook Pro, which has a single fan in the particular model that I have. And you'll see it on the results here. Obviously, it gets a little bit warmer on the M4 MacBook Air. And if you're going to do any heavy sustained workloads, the performance will go down over time because it will have to stay cool as opposed to the M4 MacBook Pro, which will do better in sustained workloads. That is just the case there. And as you can see, the fan noise on the MacBook Pro with its single fan gets as high as 48, almost 49 decibels under load. But of course, in real world usage, it hardly ever comes on, I'll be honest with you. And the MacBook Air is completely silent since it is passively cooled. And as I mentioned, if you do get the M4 MacBook Pro, keep in mind that base model has the single fan, but if you go with the M4 Pro or the M4 Max, that will have dual fans. Now, both have excellent audio in terms of the speakers. Now, there are quad speakers with Dolby Atmos on the M4 MacBook Air. The M4 Pro 14-inch has a 6-speaker sound system, also Dolby Atmos to help with the spatial audio. I did a sound comparison in my live unboxing. I'll leave a link to the replay. The sound was obviously a little bit better on the MacBook Pro. I think that's going to lend itself because it has 2 extra speakers, again, 6 versus 4. But this is excellent, especially for the price point and for the category. I highly recommend these speakers, and the overall audio experience is excellent. Now, you be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, let's give them a listen. Now, as far as user serviceability, unfortunately, both don't get a good score here because you can't upgrade the memory, you can't upgrade the storage like you can on some Windows laptops. And that is a big loss in my opinion, especially because Apple charges such a high premium to do upgrades. Yeah, I like the $999 starting price, but that only gets you 256 gigs of SSD storage. And again, it is not upgradable. This one starts at 512. I think this should have started at 512 at that $999 price point with the 16 gigabytes of unified memory. That's not what we get here. 256 gigs of SSD storage to me in 2025 is just simply not enough. They need to do better, right? So I like that they lowered the price by $100, but they needed to bump up the storage. That's just me, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. As far as any other serviceability, nope, you don't get it. Now, the other downside to me is they're not going with Wi-Fi 7 here. So we're now in 2025. A lot of the Windows counterparts are coming with Wi-Fi 7. This one has Wi-Fi 6E, which is good, of course. It's not a problem, and you really won't notice a difference. Probably most people won't, but it's not as future-proof, right, as Wi-Fi 7. That would have been a better way to go, making it, again, more future-proof. But you don't get that. Bluetooth works fine on this. I had no issue connecting to Bluetooth headphones or any Bluetooth peripherals such as mice, keyboards, and so forth. You can do it, obviously, with this. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the big changes this year is the fact that you can use 3 displays at once, which will be 2 external monitors and the internal display here, making it 3 in total. So that is something you couldn't do prior to this generation. So overall, what do I think about the M4 MacBook Air? And I gotta say, I like it, especially with that lower starting price of $999. The downside, of course, is you get only 256 gigs of storage, and especially with the fact that you can't upgrade it yourself, makes that a little bit less attractive. But, you know, it is a starting price of $999. You can get it even cheaper if you're a student teacher in the military and so forth. So there are some discounts to be had. My recommendation, though, overall, is to go with the MacBook Pro for the M4. Same chipset, really. And you're not going to see that much of a difference in terms of the overall performance. Obviously, this one's going to be a little bit better in terms of the cooling because this has active cooling versus passive cooling. So you'll see better sustained workloads. You'll see better performance over long periods of time. So this will be better for that. Now, I would go with this on sale for $13.99. Right now at B&H Photo, I have my affiliate link in the description below. I get a small commission if you choose to buy, but you don't have to, obviously. But that's been the cheapest price I've seen so far. Best Buy has it for $100 more. I'll leave a link for that as well. But I think this is the better buy, especially if you want to go with a nano texture. I think, you know, obviously going to pay $150 more, but that to me is worth it. But that's just a, you know, matter of personal preference. I like the fact that you're not seeing a lot of glare and reflection, even with all the lights here. They've done a really great job. The build quality, by the way, is excellent on both. Apple does a fantastic job with the build. So overall, you can't go wrong. Again, if you're a student, if you're a consumer, and you don't do a lot of heavy workloads, and you want something with great battery life, has a nice enough display, a pretty good keyboard, excellent trackpad, and you don't want to break the bank. You don't have a need for a lot of ports and so forth. You need something thin and light to take with you on the go. I highly recommend this. This is a great option, especially for the Apple ecosystem. If you do like video editing and stuff like that, which you can do on this, by the way, but more complex kind of renders and stuff like that, I would go with the MacBook Pro. I don't think you need to go with the M4 Max. Most people can be good with the M4 Pro or the M4, which is what I have here, the standard version, and you'll be perfectly fine. Again, I want to know what you think in the comment section below. Overall takeaway is, nice job, Apple. Not a huge upgrade. I think if you have the M3 MacBook Air, there is not a compelling reason to upgrade this year. You're not seeing that much of a performance difference, that much of a gain in battery life. And again, you can probably get last year's on sale. I'll leave links for the last year's model in the description below. Again, save some money and go with that. If you're coming from an M1, M2, then I would say look at this Air if you're interested in the airline. So again, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Now, as we're making our push now to 250,000 subscribers with 250,000, which blows my mind as I even mentioned that, why not hit that subscribe button? If you're already a casual viewer of my content, you like what you see, why not hit that subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything, and it certainly helps support the channel. I have a lot more to come, great laptops and other devices as well, so stay tuned. Again, more to come. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.